basic, you know, thought process I kind of was obsessed with for a while. Full body, everything full body. You know, instead of just blocking with your arm, full body blocks, whole body blocks, not just your appendage. Then I thought, but then when you hit sometimes, okay, the old paradigm for creating kime was you convert speed to mass at the moment of impact. Speed was always a function of being really relaxed, because a totally relaxed movement is the most uninhibited movement. So the more relaxed you are, the faster you are. We all can relate to that. And the idea was that you hit, you tighten, and the idea by doing that is then you take this disjointed, relaxed movement and you solidify it, and that's where the power comes from. But then I started hitting the makiwara a lot. And, you know, not to be brutal on my knuckles, not to be a macho break the makiwara, just kind of like what we just did as a sense of feedback for my body. And I started hitting it in a different way, almost like a soggy, heavy way. Not a tight, stiff way, but almost like a soggy going in heaviness. So relaxed heaviness was a thought that started going through my mind. Okay, and then I watch other people. There's it's like Sistema people. I don't know if you've ever seen a Russian martial art. They hit from a very short distance, but they hit really hard. And the feeling, and I started trying to apply that in the kata. I was always kind of going back to the kata. Like the kata is a superstructure of form, but within the form, there's so many levels of understanding you can play with, okay? I took, in that particular movement, if I recall, I was looking at the movement in Jion. Like, okay, so we all, you know Jion, right? From this movement here to the Kage-Zuki. People sometimes do it in two different ways. Sometimes people will draw it to their hip and make the Kage-Zuki. Sometimes people will just let the hand come right from here and descend in the Kage-Zuki. Well, I was always from the hip, because I thought that was sort of the mantra. But then, being the heretic that I'm like, well, what are those guys doing? So let me just do it that way for a while and see what it, and then I'm like, well, I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. Like, it can actually generate a lot of power from some weirdo place. It doesn't always have to come from here. So then I started thinking about that. Like, how can I get that kind of relaxed, like, heaviness to drop in my punch? And then you really picture that point in space. So when I hit, it's like right there. It's not, you see how many times you see people move and they got a movement, but it has no, you can't see where it's actually hitting. You follow? It's really precise with that. So I'm really interested in that relaxed heaviness. So right where you're sitting, just raise your hand up like that. Put your palm like that. I want you to just relax and let your back fist fall into it. Right. Yeah, no, don't even pull it. Just let the heaviness of your hand. Yeah. Y'all feel it a little bit? Yeah. So of course I'm walking around the house doing this all the time. But I remember when I was young, and I was, you know, when I was like 14 years old and weighed like 110 pounds, and doing heian yonda, I'm like, what is that, man? Is that really going to do something to somebody? Stand up here, something. I mean, is that back fist really going to do something to somebody? But if you put the relaxed heaviness on it, I think it would do something to somebody. You feel what I'm saying? Because it's penetrating. It doesn't stop on the surface. Bing, it goes, it sinks. So what I want you to do with your partner is, we're going to kind of come take your hand, just like about here, and just, I want you to just kind of relax your weight into your partner. Not get stiff, but just feel that little bit of heaviness. Don't hit him, I'm not really hitting him hard, but I'm hitting him with kind of a penetrating, going in feeling. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm going to take that kind of heavy, relaxed thing that is just very on its own, and I'm going to then incorporate it into the dynamic, you know, karate that we know. All this stuff behind it, you know, the relaxed heaviness at the end. Okay, so just try that with your partner. Maybe it's just a product of a guy getting older. You know, I can't always do karate, but you know, the guys that are really like the higher level technique, it's maximum effect, minimal effort. That's sort of what one of the paradigms we're trying to strive for. So the super muscular athletic thing, it has its time, don't get me wrong. I think there, you know, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I'm sure my karate looked very athletic. But, you know, you want your karate to constantly change, so you can always do your karate. You know, I was with somebody the other night, and I think the gentleman felt a little bad that, you know, his body was getting older, and he was still trying to apply, you know, try to be what he wanted to be when he was in his 20s or 30s. And you don't want to be that. You know, the beauty of our art is it can evolve as we evolve, and actually, as you get more mature and more experienced, the technique is getting more and more refined. You follow? So that relaxed heaviness, I think, is critical. So you got to wave the whole body doing the technique, and then that relaxed heaviness at the end. And you can do it. You should be able to do it, I think, on anything. I mean, you should be able to kick. I mean, Satomi Sensei, my Aikido teacher, one time was kicking me, and by our standard, it did not look like a Shotokan Mawashi game. But every time the guy hit me, it was unbelievably hard. And he wasn't even hitting me fast. It was just like, oh man, oh, would you please stop it? I mean, he was able to put, he's expert at putting his center. Aikido are very good at putting their center on everything. And he could do that with anything he did. You know, you grab his hand and all of a sudden you're like underneath his weight. He just boom, puts his weight on you. That's a type of body intelligence. Can you put your weight on anything? You follow what I'm saying? So what we're going to try next is, can I borrow you for just 1 second? Maybe here's some. So we'll make it like you call him Kumite. So it makes Kidambara. So this is our training paradigm. This is going to come with a mid-level punch. I'm going to step back and I'm going to make, like, we'll say, okay, a pressing block. Going to be a little different. Normally we step back with this foot, but I'm going to receive his technique with the same side, back like that, so I'm making that space. And I'm going to bring this hand up, kind of floppy, and I'm going to do this one time on his arm, because it's kind of painful, but I'm going to drop my weight on his forearm like that, okay? That relaxed heaviness is going to come down on the top of his forearm. I'm going to make this sort of really loose, but not just my arm, though. I'm actually pulling it from the core of my body, like deep, and I'm letting it drop, like that. Then I'm going to, from there, from that right, as soon as I initiate that, I'm going to come in with my center and use my forearm across like the side of his mastoid muscle here. And I want you to imagine like your body's in a bubble and you're pushing, I'm pushing against the bubble and it's snapping back. That feeling. So I'm going to block, I'm going to hit, and then okay? So strike. You do this and then you're going to take that off. You want to be hitting really with your center. So when you're hitting, I'm really that feeling. I'm pushing. It's coming really from nice and low, not up high. Or you just like here, when I'm hitting that. So what you want is this sort of like that feeling. Low. Like that. Then, so super slow. I'm holding it off of him, but it's my center driving in that makes the strike. Not your arm. Okay, so feel. Aiki people have these rowing. They call it a rowing exercise, and really it's an understanding of how do you apply your center and retract your center. It's really center training. So this is very much like same feeling, center training. Again, like Langley Sensei said, this is relaxed. It's really connection to your center. Okay?
Guys, what I want to talk about today is kind of like this transitioning from one stance to the other without losing your center. So some people do it quite nicely, some people not so nicely. But if you watch your stance, like your center is engaged, your glutes are engaged, your abdomen squeeze in stance. Then when people move, they kind of release this thing and they start to kind of fishtail through their movement. So I want you to try to maintain this connection to your center at all times, and we'll talk about this why in a minute. But if you disengage, first thing that your chin's going to go forward. Last thing you want to do when you move backwards and forward, you want to lead with your head. You want to maintain, stay to the center line. That's one thing. Second thing is that the technique wants to be viable through the movement. So you're not just kind of fishtailing out and then releasing from the technique at the end. You want to have this engagement right the way through before you execute the technique. At this point at the end, you can execute at any time. Understand? So I just want to practice kind of like that super engaged point. And then we'll kind of build it up. So from here, whilst you're around this way, I want you to kind of, this is almost imperceptible. Your bad stance belly forward, good stance abdomen forward. Bad stance, good stance. It's almost no different. Well, I want you to kind of get super engaged. So from here, drive your basically more forward, which hopefully will bring your heels off the ground. So you're super engaged. Sometimes you squeeze, abdomen squeeze, heels off the ground. That's different from coming up. You're keeping the same height. You're really challenging your stance, driving forward. Then from here, you'll maintain that form as you drive forward, or you keep engaged, or you understand? Or heels off the ground all the time. I'm not going to do that. Okay? I'm not trying to teach you a bad stance. It's just a training method to engage the center a little bit more. Okay? You kind of do quite a lot of things. You can rotate it this way, sideways, twisting, etc. This is how we create power. We don't just create power through rotation, Shotokan is a mixture of shurike and nahate. Shurike, we get this rotation. Nahate, we get this rotation. Yeah? So it's kind of really using this nahate power to create stability in your stance. So I'm seeing some people who are doing this, but then losing balance. This has got to be connected to your legs. So don't put just tilting your pelvis and ignoring your foundation. So inner thigh to squeeze, almost like you're coming to one point in your stance. So if you're in this kind of triangular feeling, then you should have stability. Understand? That's one point. Second point is that I'm seeing some people who are kind of back heels off the ground and punching like this. And this is just a bad stance. Front heel flat, back heel off the ground, and you're doing this. This is just bad. Like if you heels down, heels up, but not one down, one up. This is just kind of losing your form. Understand? Sometimes this is about your upper body tension. So you've got good stability in your stance, but then if you're letting your energy come up. I want this to be relaxed. Yeah? So, like often in karate, it's about that contrast between the stability and therefore kind of internal tension within your stance and upper body relaxation. Do you understand? Like, there's no point kind of having a really nice stance and then doing this. This has to be relaxed. So whatever happens down here, you're releasing this in a relaxed way. Understand? So I want to go back to kind of this Samon Suki. So from here I want you to kind of super engage again and then try. So this is super engaged, this is completely relaxed, and you're punching. Yes, snap, and this is relaxed. When you do Oizuki, of course, is Shomin dash. So we're trying to maintain it square at this point. So this is a training method. It might feel stronger if you, like most people like the brown, so we can talk a little bit beyond the basic formulaic square when you do Oizuki. It does feel a little bit stronger if you kind of make Shizen dash, natural stance. Not Shomin, not handling, but this Shizen, natural locking position. So every stance has kind of basically 4 hip positions. Hanmi, Shizen dash, Shomin, Gaku. But actually what we're talking about is just a spectrum of movement. And just we're kind of giving you points what we can describe. But certainly Oizuki feels much more powerful in Shizen dash, natural stance. But as a training method, it's not great. As a training method, we want to kind of have the dominance of our supporting leg or jiquash to drive forward into Oizuki, so it's shoulder. And then relax one more time. Relax one more time. So what you're doing is you're producing a hip dominant movement. If you're going into Shizen dash, this then starts to dominate. And then this starts to dominate. And then this starts to dominate. And you just get this basic rotation. Understand? Samon Suki in itself is not an affectionate technique. If you step forward and punch someone and you miss, and then you punch the same position, and you miss, and you punch the same position again, what are you doing wrong? Or if you step forward and hit someone, what's the point of hitting them again and again? This in itself is a training. So understand what you're trying to train, which is the dominance of your hips, and the dominance of your supporting leg, and have the contrast of the body relaxation. I just want you to go from Jukubai. First of all, just this cutting action, so cutting sideways feet, sideways feet, so this kind of triangular movement. Then your choice. I want you to feel that this is what's dominating. This is what's dominating. You can drive in Gakuzuki. Or if you want, this is what's dominating. I'm fully driving Yoke. Either of those two. So, but what's important is that you're creating this tension point. This tension point in your lower body and your upper body stay relaxed. Understand? Yes. Knee and foot target. Hip getting driven into your, or squeezing your hip. Storing that energy, plyometrically, kind of bouncing back. Understand? If this upper body comes dominant, you'll tell very quickly, you start to push it up. Like this kind of thing. So, defense side, you're not passive, you're telling me. Are they fishtailing? Are they opening their energy and then falling in? What are they doing? Give them a hand. Good things, huh? Like, what I'm trying to get you to do is put your stance under greater pressure and still not allowing your upper body to dominate. You understand? Like, all this is like, we can talk about kind of the offline nature of this movement in a kumite machi double and just go straight. Maybe going offline is a good idea. And we can talk about those principles, but like, I don't really teach sports karate, I teach, biomechanics, so I want to talk about kind of like the idea of challenging your stance in one way, which makes it harder to follow the fundamental principles of karate. And if you can follow the fundamental principles of karate, then no matter what you do, competition, kata, kumite, whatever you do, self-defense, your karate is going to improve. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to kind of get you to put more pressure on this feeling without something going. The more you squeeze, something's going to pop out. Yeah? Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. This thing. That's what you don't want, yeah? You want to squeeze your hip, keep your tense line, and then maintain that position as you go through. In a relaxed way. Okay, you want to play about with that one a little bit more, that's fine. This time, I want you to go opposite, well, not opposite the same, but this feeling of this way, and then this feeling. So you're kind of trying to kind of double bounce feeling. This plyometric bounce, plyometric bounce. So from here, this feeling 1, 2, and 3 feet. It's more to get. Just have a sense of using your energy to whip your leg out. Because this is what's tense. Your legs, your upper body is relaxed. This whipping action is going to send your limit. So this feeling of offline, offline. Offline, offline, close together. What's that?
Close.
Yeah, you got it?
Close.
Dig it, go. Like this kind of going. You're kind of kicking your stop. Kicking your stop like this way, yeah? So again, you're putting your hips under super pressure. You're putting them under pressure and it's producing this dynamic. Don't open. If you're going to open then all it is kind of a little tap and you use that to make it dynamic. Well, some people do this kind of Moshigei Gakuzuki. Well, that's just Moshigei Gakuzuki, yeah? I'm not teaching Moshigei Gakuzuki, I'm trying to kind of get you to understand a principle which is about kind of maintaining connection throughout the technique, like we did with Oizuki and Samonzuki, and then apply it in increasingly more and more difficult ways. Do you understand? Understand the technique, then constantly challenge it. Like I was having a nice conversation with Rick Hotton last night. I was talking about kind of like, you know, you've got to constantly challenge yourself. Then when you're Ross's age, maybe it's about competition, maybe it's about kind of trying to beat his boss. That type of thing, yeah? As you get older, you try to kind of challenge yourself in other ways. So you understand the principles, try to apply them in increasingly more, not complex, but difficult situations. So here what we're trying to do is not give away our energy, maintain this connection. So we're just kind of almost kind of touching his hand and then releasing. Whereas a lot of people, it becomes about your upper body. As soon as that becomes difficult, you're compensating, and this happens. Energy starts to come up, and then you start to fishtail straight away. Then, as a practical application, back with Moshigei step back in Hamazuki, then you might think, well, this will never work. Of course it will. Except, I once saw Kagawa-sensei do this exceptionally successfully. So he kicked Moshigei, someone blocked it, as they were blocking, he came with his Hamazuki. In only Kagawa-sensei's manner. I don't think anybody else in the world really can do that in a kind of competition circumstance. But ultimately, the point is that the principles behind that are sound. And that's what we've got to challenge ourselves on, yeah? So, depends on your flexibility, of course. But try to get your supporting foot as much forward as possible so you're creating tension within your hip. Safety and tension because it's a ball and socket joint, but you're creating tension and you're just kicking here without this other body being affected. Kicking and then releasing in this plyometric movement.